Okay, we've got another Clean Water Systems instructional video for you today. We're going to show you how to set up and start your Pro-Ox iron filter system using a 5900 BT valve. Okay, so for this cubic foot system, this is how it's going to arrive at your house. There'll be 4 boxes. One will contain your media tank. One will contain half a cubic foot of your ChemSorb. Your Pro-Ox. There'll be a smaller box with ChemSorb and Pro-Ox, and then a box with gravel and your control valve. Okay, so we've got everything unboxed. I did want to mention at this time, you do want to make sure you have everything in your kit prior to starting your assembly and or contacting your plumber to come out and install. So anyway, you have your media tank, you have your D-tube, you have your Pro-Ox. This is the smaller bag of Pro-Ox that goes with it. This is your gravel. This is your ChemSorb. And your control valve, your media funnels, bypass valve, 1-inch adapters, power supply, and your instruction manual. For today's purposes, we're going to be hooking up to these 1-inch ports here. One more thing to mention before we get started today, we want to make sure for these smaller systems you have at least 5 GPM of water pressure. Otherwise, when you go to do your backflush, you won't be able to clean the media out. So it's very important for this size you have at least 5 GPM. We also have available some optional equipment if you choose to purchase to help your ease of installation. We have the drain tube. We have the 1-inch flex lines, and we have the air gap, which is used on the drain. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to set up and fill our media tank. First thing we're going to do is install our D-tube. We want to make sure these thread together. Sometimes they come loose in transportation, so you just want to make sure this is tight. We're going to go ahead and set the D-tube down into the media cylinder, and as you can see, the D-tube comes up above this surface. You want to make sure this gets seated all the way down into the divot in the bottom of the tank. Kind of a nifty way to do that is just go ahead and take and spin it, and then as you can see it popped down in there, and now it's level, so you're good to go with that. So basically we're going to fill the tank with the medias. You want to make sure you don't get any media down the inside of your D-tube. So we have 2 different type funnels. The first one is this black funnel, and it has a neat little cap right here that the D-tube actually sits in, and then the media floats down around it. The second type funnel that we have has a hole straight through it. So if you have one of these blue type funnels, you're going to need to go ahead and put tape over the D-tube. So a couple things, get yourself a piece of tape, make yourself a little buddy tab. You want to make sure this is easy to remove. What you don't want to do is get the media filled and then lift the D-tube up as you're removing this tape. If you do that, you'll either have to, normally you can't feed it back down in, you'll probably have to end up emptying your tank and starting over, which you don't want to do. So anyway, just warning, when you do remove the tape, you want to make sure you keep that D-tube seated down in there. For today's demonstration, we're going to go ahead and use the black funnel. So the first thing you're going to do, and again, your gravel, your Pro-Ox, your ChemSorb, everything is weighed out, pre-measured for your size of tank. So the first thing you want to do is put your gravel in, and this basically is going to fill up just above the lower basket. The next thing you'll do is you'll put both your large bag and your small bag of Pro-Ox in. Once you've completed that, last but not least, you'll put in your ChemSorb on top. Okay, once you have your ChemSorb in, again, you want to very carefully remove this funnel, not raising the D-tube up. You're going to go ahead and fill your cylinder with water all the way up to about here. Then what you're going to want to do is grab some standard household bleach, unscented. Put 1 cup of bleach down the D-tube. You want to let that sit for at least an hour or up to 24 hours before you proceed. So for this particular system, we're plumbing it in with Schedule 80 PVC. We did install an isolation valve with a 1-inch MPT fitting here. And we have a shutoff to the house and a hose bib here. The hose bib is going to be very important. We recommend that you put these in your systems so you can do your back flushing and your prepping before water goes into your house. So we're going to go ahead and install the valve. So we shipped a little tube of lube with your valve. There's an O-ring here that seats around the D-tube and an O-ring here that seats to the tank. So we want to make sure we put a little lube on each of those. And just go ahead and put a nice little film all the way around. And then we'll go ahead and install the valve. One thing on these, you want to make sure you don't over tighten them. Never use a strap wrench or anything like that on them. They only need to be hand tight. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and install our bypass valve. There again, notice there's an inlet and outlet arrow here on the valve. There's also an inlet and an outlet arrow here on the bypass valve. Again, these bypass valves have O-rings. We'll want to lube those as well. And then match up your arrows, and this guy will just pop in like that, and you can just hand tighten these nuts here. Again, you don't need a wrench on these. The hand tighten is fine. Okay, the last thing we'll do here is we have our 1-inch adapter valves. There again, these also have the O-rings here. We'll want to put a little lube on. Okay, we also want to verify that our bypass valve is in bypass. So basically, both valves face each other. Water will go in the inlet and out the outlet, but not be inside the tank yet. So we want to make sure we've got this in the bypass mode. Okay, we'll go ahead and hook our flex lines up. And these have a little rubber washer inside, so you just want to get a little snug on these just to seal them from. And we'll go ahead and install our outlet. And then go ahead and tighten this one as well. Okay, we're going to go ahead and power up our unit. First thing we want to do is remove the dust cover. And you can do that just by kind of pulling it apart on both sides. We'll go ahead and plug this in. There are 3 ports over here. We put this into the P for power port. It's on the most outboard side. and we'll go ahead and plug our valve in. Okay, we're going to go ahead and program our valve. The first thing we're going to do is set the time of day. So we'll push the menu enter button. The time will flash. We'll hit the set change button. Basically, that changes your minutes. Hit menu enter again to the next digit. It sets your time for your second digit minutes. Hit it again, and that's for your hours. Press it one more time. You go back, your time flashes. Press it again. You'll select AM or PM. And the last but not least, the A. This is your time between backwash cycles. You want to always set this between 3 and 4 days. It's very important that you do this at least every 3 or 4 days or twice a week in order to backflush the media. What can happen with the Pro-Ox over time is it ends up compacting. And what you need to do with the regeneration process, it actually forces the water down the D-tube and back up through the media, and it fluffs the media back up and flushes all the contaminants out of it. So you want to make sure, it's very important to make sure to do this. Okay, once you got that set, you can complete through it. Everything's good, you're good. Now, when you're back in service mode, it goes between the time and the days left to regeneration, and it'll just bounce back and forth. Okay, so the next thing we're going to want to do is get into the master programming and set our backwash cycle times. So in order to do that, you're basically going to press the menu enter set change button at the same time, and you're going to hold it for a few seconds. Okay, so this is your regeneration time. So right now it's at 2 a.m. You can set change this. There's AM, PM, AM. Go to the next one. We recommend 2 a.m. The other important thing you want to make sure is you don't have regeneration. If you have other filters or a water softener, you want to make sure you stagger those times so they're not regenerating at the same time. So anyway, there we go, 2 a.m. That's what we got. Then we're going to go into our backwash cycle. We set this for 10 minutes. Okay, you want to make sure that guy's at 10 minutes. There again, if you want to set change it, you can walk through it this way using the set change button. Okay, now 2 is your rest period. We want that set for 5 minutes, which this is. The next one is 3. Okay, so the rapid rinse we recommend setting for 6 minutes. Again, using the set change button to cycle through that. And so their rapid rinse is set for 3 minutes. Okay, so this is Bluetooth enabled 1. That means the Bluetooth is able to program the valve, and I'll show you that in just a second. And then this is the password where you can set up a password for the valve. We'll press menu enter one more time, and we go back, and now we're in service mode. It'll just flash between the time and the days left for regen. Okay, so the other way you can program your valve is you can go onto Google Apps or Apple Store and download the Water System app. So basically this is Legacy View, and what you can do is it'll go ahead and find the valve, the Bluetooth, and when it comes up, this is your dashboard. It has the time set, days till backwash, regeneration time, and you can set all of these. You just basically put on there, you can set the unit time as the same as the phone, which it just did. So this is really a handy app. You can also go into advanced settings, and you can start performing the backwash, the rest, or the rapid rinse. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do is go ahead and hook up our drain line from the side of the valve here to our drain. Okay, so for the drain side of the drain line, we'll go ahead and put our air cap in here. Now the air gap, the thing with it, you just use regular contact or PVC cement, primer and cement. You go install that on top of your drain. Basically, this doesn't allow, if there ever was a drain back up, to come back up into your drinking water. Okay, so we've got our drain line, and basically we're just going to use a couple of hose clamps to connect everything up. So we'll go ahead and install that guy. And then on the valve side, it's just basically right here on, here's your drain line right here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and prepare our system for our initial backwash cycle. Again, you wanted to make sure you had that bleach in there and you let it soak for at least an hour. First thing we'll do is go ahead and open our inlet water valve. Okay, so right now you're going to have water through the bypass to your closed valve to your house. So this is a good time just to leak check everything through all of your flex line hookups. Remember, there's no water coming to the cylinder yet. It's just coming through the bypass valve and around. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and manually put the valve into backwash cycle. I'm going to actually use the app for that. So basically here is your backwash cycle. We're going to go ahead and hit regenerate now. Hit OK. And you can hear the valve go into the backwash. Okay, once you're in, you see 1 in your 10 minutes and you're in your first backwash cycle, we're going to slowly open your inlet valve. What you're going to do is you're going to see particulate and stuff coming out through here. It's going to get real black and then it'll probably turn to a lighter gray. So what you're going to do is just let that feed, let the air bubbles all come out. Once you see more of a steady flow, you slowly open this up. Just let it sit there for a minute or two in between each little nudge, and eventually, you know, you'll just see the air bubbles all go away and you'll see this starting to clear up. You're basically right now what you're doing is you're forcing water down through the tube and up through the media, so you're just getting all that real fine particulate out of the media. So eventually you're going to be all the way open. You're going to want to just let that continue to run, but for this demonstration purpose, I'm going to go ahead and go into the next regeneration step. And this is the rest period. So again, you can let it rest. You should just let it rest the 5 minutes. Remember, these will automatically go through these cycles once you start them, and you can just run them through, but for the demonstration purposes I'm going ahead and advancing it. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and advance this. Okay, so now the valve is in step 3. So as you see, it's time for 6 minutes. So now what you're doing is you're pushing the water down through the media back up through the tube. So this would be the direction that would happen when you were in service. So what you're going to do is you're going to see this gradually clearing up, clearing up, clearing up. Let it run its full 6 minutes. Okay? Once its 6 minutes is up, and again I'm just going to force it to the next step. Okay, now we're back into its normal cycle, and as you can see, it's bouncing back and forth between the time and the days left for regen. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go through that backwash regeneration cycle 2 to 3 more times. Bottom line is at the end of your rapid rinse, you want to see the water clear coming out here. The backwash, you're going to continually see that dirt, but that's going to drain, that's okay. So once you've done 2, 3, 4 backwash cycles, and you see this at the end of a rapid rinse become clear, now it's okay to go ahead then, and what we'll do is we would open this valve back up, your outlet valve. Okay, so we highly recommend you install a hose bib here. So what we want to do now, we basically have water coming through, down through the cylinder and out. So before we open the house supply valve, we're going to want to go ahead and open this, hook a garden hose to it, run it outside, and go ahead and flush the system a little bit. That'll get rid of any particulate that was up in here that might have been caused when you were hooking up. If you've got older pipes, older galvanized pipes, rusty stuff might have come loose with your installation. So anyway, you want to flush that and make sure you got good clean water coming out of here. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and close this. You can go ahead and open your supply to the house, and then you're good to go. Okay, so our system's all ready to use. We're up and running. The last thing we want to do is go ahead and install a 9-volt backup battery. This is if your power ever goes out, you won't lose your programming here. So basically, there's a little tray right here in front of the valve. You just plug in a regular 9-volt battery, and then we'll just go ahead and reinstall the dust cover. Okay, that's all for this instruction video. Thanks, and have a great day.